Welcome back for the second Ixalan draft league I've done today. Aren't you guys lucky? I know I am, playing all these awesome new cards. We have an easy front runner with the Ripjaw Raptor. I think this card is pretty good. It also has the merit of being worth a good number of tickets. That's probably the pickup here. I do think that Walk the Plank is probably close to as good, although the fact that sorcery speed does hurt a little bit. As the format goes on, it might end up even being a little bit better, but hard to know at this point. I think Marauding Looter has impressed me, although you obviously need to be two colors, and it's not real great to pick up a two-color card this early. Territorial Hammer Skulls seem pretty good if you're an aggressive archetype. But yeah, this Ripjaw Raptor, he's way above the curve. He's always going to draw you a card, and maybe even more, so that card just seems pretty stellar. Okay, we are following it up immediately with probably a Drover of the Mighty, which is pretty great. This is a great mana dork, gets you going early on mana, and then turns into a pretty reasonable threat in the late game when you got a dinosaur as well. We've also got Tishana's Wayfinder, which is a really stellar card, and Ravenous Daggertooth, which is fine. Other non-green cards you'd consider, Contract Killing, and that's probably it. Blight Reprisal is fine, but not as good as Killing. We've got Unfriendly Fire, which is also fine, but not as good as Killing. Yeah, I think we're just going to take this Drover the Mighty, and be pretty happy with that pickup as well. With any luck, we won't get super cut off green, and we'll just be able to ride these. A couple of pretty good picks. Okay, this pack, we've got Fathom Fleet, Firebrand, and Nest Robber, which I like quite a bit. But I've already played the red green deck, so I'd maybe try to avoid that a little bit. Deeproot Warrior is fine, not quite as good as the Firebrand, but still not bad. Don't like Prying Blade. Vanquish the Weak is pretty good, but maybe not quite as good in this format as it is in some. There's just a lot of pretty big creatures. The power 3 or less can be a pretty real clause. It's pretty rare you can't find anything to target, but sometimes it doesn't kill the stuff you really want it to either. So the question here, I suppose, is whether we just take the on-color decent card, or we pick up a slightly better off-color card, like Vanquish the Weak. That's probably between those two. I think we're just going to take the Deeproot Warrior. I'd kind of like just staying as open and cutting green as hard as we can, given that we've got a not bad start here. Okay. We have New Horizons, which is maybe worth considering. Very good for splashing cards, also very good if we end up going to the late game playing really big dinos or just big cards in general. If we wanted to go for a little bit more of a beatdown strategy, we could pick up the Territorial Hammer Skull. Bishop Soldier's is good. I don't think it's necessarily what we want to be doing in this deck, though. Don't like Jungle Delver. Yeah, I think that's about it. We could also pick up like One with the Wind, maybe, and sort of say, hey, we're going to be Merfolk, blue-green, and just play some pretty good cards on their own. I think One with the Wind will come around later, though. I don't think it's really the reason to go into that color. I think we're just going to pick up the New Horizons, just stick with the pack. This is only really great if we get some stuff to ramp out, but if we do both want the ramp half and we want the +1/+1 counter half, that card is really quite good. Sunbird's Invocation. Cast a spell from your hand, reveal top X cards of your library, where X is the spell's convert mana cost. Okay. Kind of interesting. It's pretty expensive, costs 6, and it doesn't actually do anything on its own. You have to play another spell thereafter. But I guess if you start chaining them, that's a pretty big effect. It's a little bit interesting. I don't think it's good. I think you'd rather just have like a solid big creature at 6, but in a control like Mirror, that ends up being pretty powerful. We've seen a lot of these Hammer Skulls come around. We're still passing them pretty aggressively. I'm just gonna take the Diviner. I think between the Drover the Mighty and New Horizons, we're just gonna kind of try and go for a bigger green deck. And if we can stay pretty much mono green pack 1, that's pretty nice too, because then we are pretty comfortable just picking up like good bombs in pack 2, or it leaves us very open to do a bunch of different things. Okay, not happy to see another Deeproot Warrior here. I actually have not seen this Fire Cannon yet, though. Doesn't untap during untap step, pay 4, deal damage to a creature, and in your upkeep you may discard a card to untap it. Oof, that's a pretty hefty cost. 2 damage repeatable is powerful, but you have to discard cards for it, and it's really expensive. This card's never going to be good outside of the very late game. And then I guess it turns every land into a shock, but yeah, I don't know if that's something you can really just go hard on. We do like Deep Root Warrior, though. I'll pick up probably about as many of those as we can. Alright, our first pack where we can't really just pick up a green card. Like I said, I'm a little bit loath to go red-green just because our last draft was red-green, although our last draft was also sort of dinosaurs-y, so maybe this is already kind of too similar. It's hard to pass up Ripjaw Raptor, especially when you're followed up with the Drover the Mighty. We could just take Sunrise Seeker if we're kind of trying to force being a different color, but probably the best pick is just the Frenzied Raptor, and maybe I should just try and do the best draft we can, right? And you'll have to forgive me if I end up being red-green again. Which is not looking super unlikely. Suncrowned Hunters is not a bad late game, and pretty big card to go along with our Drover the Mighty and our New Horizons. I'm not wild about Emergent Growth. It's not terrible in a board stall. Once in a while you'll be able to like pick off a good card on your opponent's side, but it's kind of expensive. It still is really bad with removal and response, and it's only 1 turn effect. You'll pick up another Daggertooth here. Okay, so we're very, very solidly in green. We could maybe shift away from red, depending on what we see at the beginning of next pack. We've got a Bishop Soldier. I think we'll just pick that guy up. I think that's the best of the 3 cards by a decent amount. I think this card is quite good. 2/2 lifelink for 2. That's pretty pushed. I'm still not wild about Jungle Delver. Siren's Ruse I think is pretty good in the right deck, but this is not that deck. But we'll pick up Dual Shot. It works well with Enrage if we end up really going down that path. Swashbuckling's also been a little bit better than I thought it would be. Okay, well, I feel better about this draft than any draft I've done in the format so far. Pretty easy, I suppose, when you just open up a great green rare and get past a bunch of good green cards. Goodness Charlie puts up a fight. We're just going to take Savage Stomp here, I'm pretty sure. This is really, really good with dinosaurs and fine outside of it. Sorcery Speed Fight spell is what the dinosaurs deck is looking for anyway, and the fact that you get a +1/+1 counter, and it only costs 1 if you target a dinosaur, all turns that into a pretty good card. The Daring Saboteur definitely would be worth considering if we were in blue. I think this is one of the best raid enablers probably in the set. But yeah, as it stands, Savage Stomp looks great. Happy to grab that. Okay, a couple of interesting choices here. We do a Verdant Sun Avatar, which is a very, very expensive card, but on the other hand, pretty good if it ever lands. When this enters the battlefield, it does gain you 5 life just on the spot, and then thereafter, every spell that you play is just going to keep gaining you life until they kill it. Probably a little bit more a win more at 7. If you stay alive long enough to cast this, you probably don't necessarily need the life after the first time that the Avatar hits the ground. I'm kind of tempted to play it just because I want to see how good it is, and we do have some ramp, but I could definitely see Blossom Dryad or Grazing Whiptail being better. The Whiptail is obviously a pretty great card. I think Blossom Dryad is good, but probably not quite as good as either of these two. I don't know, I'm tempted to take the Verdant Sun Avatar. I think this might actually be a lower power pick, but you're not going to have as many chances to play with the rares. I kind of want to see it in action here. Okay, we could pick up another Daggertooth. We could pick up Sure Strike if we think we're going to be red. We could be pretty close to mono green, though. We're just getting lots of cards. Verdant Rebirth I don't think is all that great. Maybe if you have just, maybe if you have tons and tons of enter the battlefield triggers, which, to be fair, the Merfolk do. Maybe it ends up being pretty good, but let's just take the Ravenous Daggertooth here, which I think is a solid card. Primal Amulet. Seems pretty bad, unfortunately. Definitely kind of a cool card, but you need Alliance and Sorceries before it starts to go off, and even after that, you need Instants and Sorceries. Interesting pick here. We could just take a Raging Swordtooth, which is definitely pretty good. 5/5 triggers all of our Enrage. I do still like Grazing Whiptail, but the Swordtooth might just be better. You could take the Whiptail and just kind of hope no one else is in green-red. It seems not unlikely given how much green we've been past, especially dinosaurs. And this could wheel, but It would have to be one of the last cards in the pack. Let's see. That's not great, that's not great, that's not great. We'd be pushing it. Someone would have to want to take Costly Plunster or cancel over it. I don't think anyone's going to take the Amulet. We can take Tishana's Wayfinder just as a pretty great 3-drop. We're doing okay on the 3s right now. We have a lot of cards that fit into that. And we maybe could use a couple more 2s, so I think I'm just going to take the Fathom Fleet Firebrand. This does push us a little bit farther into playing red, but the Raging Swordtooth fits with that, and so I can see that just being the way the deck ends up going here. New Horizons, don't really want a second one. I don't think Cobbled Wings is really what you want to be doing in this. I don't know, I mean, this is the best deck for it, but it's still equipment that doesn't do a lot of the time. I think New Horizons is going to be better. If we end up with a couple more big dinosaurs, we end up playing 2. Alright, we have Belligerent Brontodon. Seems like a Brodon to me. Deals combat damage equals to its toughness instead of its power. That's actually kind of a slight disadvantage for all of our cards. And 7 cost 4/6 isn't all that exciting. Don't like Demolish, but maybe it's just a sideboard card. Maybe we take Sure Strike. This is a pretty powerful +3/+0, and First Strike is pretty significant, and it's a good combat trick. Brodon, we'll have to make him work at some point. Okay. Interesting choice here between Ixalan's Knight and Fathom Fleet Firebrand. I think the Firebrand is a better card, but Ixalan's Knight might be better early on, and this is definitely, like, this is about as dinosaur-y a deck as you're going to find. So maybe this is just the right deck for the Knight. This is good later on because it's a really good mana sink going into the late game. But maybe we have enough dinosaurs that maybe the Knight's best. This is nice if we're playing on beating down because you don't have to pay for it. Don't think Pirate's Cutlass is something we're interested in. Still, I don't think Emergent Growth is going to be very good. I might take Crushing Canopy just as a good sideboard option. My opponent's got a really great flyer. We can Bite the Dust, or Enchantment still take care of as well. I like having at least one of them. Jade Guardian, not exciting, but playable. We have a really kind of front-loaded curve here and some really high late game. We may end up just playing a really like low 2 and 3 drops curve and try and run over my opponent and end out with like the Sawtooth or Swordtooth as one of our last cards. But we'll take Demolish, another sideboard card, a pretty bad one though. I don't think you ever were hoping to bring that in. Okay. So blue looks underdrafted. We would, well, probably wouldn't have gotten the Swordtooth back. This is the one that had our Whiptails, which a little bit unfortunate we didn't pick some up. I kind of wish we'd taken that over the Summons Avatar, but I wasn't really sure if we were going to end up getting some other big threats and could go hard on that. Doesn't look like it for this deck. I think we're just going to be a low sort of beat down deck. Alright, pack 3. Couple of very good white uncommons and Settle the Wreckage, which I think is going to be pretty good, but not... When I first read it, I was really blown away, but you're probably not going to get more than 2 or 3 attacking creatures at any given time. I think that's on the plus side. Sometimes you're just going to have one big bomb beating on you, and you've just got to pay a 4-mana Path to Exile. They have to be attacking you, too, for it to work. It's not the best. We have Ryle, although most of our Enrage triggers are just like gain some life. It's really good with the Ripjaw Raptor. It's just a 1-cost draw 2 in that case. Maybe with the Swordtooth it's a little bit interesting, but... Or I guess that's not even... Yeah, it just triggers Enrage. It's not even interacting with it. I think we're just going to take another Fathom Fleet Firebrand and try and run over our opponents. I'd love to get a Pounce or just some more red removal, something to really help us knock our way through our opponents here. Rummaging Goblin, I think is good. Don't like Rigging Runner, really. Wild Growth Walker is good if you have lots of Explorer, which we don't. We have Ravenous Daggertooth or Wayfinder. I think the Wayfinder is better, even with our dinosaur synergies. I think I'm going to pick that up. We have a lot of 3s. I think we're going to probably not play the New Horizons, though. Probably not Verdant Sun Avatar. Assuming we can avoid it. Okay. Here is a pretty good red removal spell. Fire Cannon Blast, I think, is a little bit worse than it looks. Just the sorcery speed and double red actually I think hurts it a little bit, but it is still pretty great. 2 pretty good vampire cards. The Bishop of the Bloodstained is a pretty real deal. That's kind of just a huge drain if you've got some good token generators. I've been impressed with Arguel's Bloodfast too. It's just stone cold unplayable in some matchups, but if you're both stalled out, this can just draw you like 3 extra cards a turn, and that's absurd. So that's pretty good. I had this with the red rare that what's it called? I can't remember. Anyways, the red rare that lets you active treason your opponent's stuff at will, and I just started sacking stuff, and the game felt pretty good at that point. River Herald's Boon's good, but we don't have tons of Merfolk, and I want some more removal, so that's a good pickup. Ooh, wow. There's some stuff here. I do like Blossom Dryad, although honestly we have enough other big stuff that I don't think we necessarily need it. Colossal Dreadmaw is good, so is the Sword Tooth. I think the Sword Tooth is better, it's 1 mana cheaper, has a couple of synergies with our deck. It's a little bit tempting just to take the Dreadmaw, because I still think there's a chance that the Sword Tooth comes around. But again, it's gotta be one of like the last 4 cards in the pack. 2 of those are lands, I just don't think we can rely on that. And I think I want the Sword Tooths. And there's another Belligerent Rotodon. Imperial Aerosaur is also quite good. We have a Community with Dinosaurs, which I like. I think we're just going to take another removal spell in the Fire Cannon Blast, though. Again, it's a little bit clunky, but it's removal, and we don't have tons of it. Ooh, some choices here. I'm probably just going to take a Whiptail, honestly. I'm regretting not taking some of those earlier. Crash the Ramparts is a pretty good combat trick to help us get through. Dinosaur Stampede's a really good finisher. Whiptail is just so, like, efficient, though. I love this card. I don't know. Crash the Ramparts. Fire Cannon Blast is a decent removal spell before combat, but not the best. This just can blow you out, I feel like. Again, I'm going to take the... No, I don't know. Maybe even Stampede. I don't know. This is close. I think I'm going to take Stampede. Never taken my Whiptails when I need to be. We've got so many cheap drops. Just having an overrun effect I think is going to be pretty good. And there's another Deeproot Warrior. We're like a legitimate aggro deck. Okay. Frenzied Raptor is probably better than the Daggertooth, even with the Enrage. For beating down, that's going to be a little bit better. Your opponent can't interact with it. It's a 4-2. That's a lot. Still don't think we want to be playing Ryle. Fire Shrine Keeper is not really our thing. Prying Braid, also not really our thing. I don't know, I guess I'd keep Keeper. Maybe if we thought the game was going to go really long, I would play it. And Rummaging Goblin comes back. We want to play this main deck. It's not a very aggressive card. It is pretty good in controlling matchups. Maybe if we decide we can't win, if it's just going to be like 2 mid-range beats and we're not going to run underneath them, maybe Rummaging Goblin's better. Okay, I think actually at this point we might even cut the Sun-Crowned Hunters. Pretty good with the Sawtooths. But I think we were just going to play like 16 lands and go really low to the ground. It is remarkable how similar this is to our last deck, unfortunately. I think this is a better version of it, though. Do we want to play Diviner? I'm not even sure we do. This card is, like, great, especially if you're playing more defensively, but we have a lot of 2-drops and a lot of more aggressive 2-drops. I'm not even sure we're going to play that. Not sure we're going to play all of our Dagger Teeth. I guess we're at 23 right now, so we may end up having to play, like, Diviner. River Herald's Boon. How many Merfolk do we even have? 1 handful. It's pretty good with Deeproot Warrior. Maybe. We're not going to play Ryle, I don't think, so... I don't think this is a main deck card, but maybe we'll decide we just need a little bit more of a combat trick, and we'll be able to settle for a bad +1/+1 in some cases. Hijack, I think we might play just as another way to kind of sneak out the game along with our Dinosaur Stampede. Don't think the Boon's a thing. I don't think Dual Shot's a thing on its own, but it's probably between either Diviner and Dual Shot. Or we could just play Suncrown Hunters and have one 6-drop in the deck. Well, Commune with Dinosaurs, that's a great draw. I'm really glad to see that come around. Especially with as many dinosaurs we have. I think that card's good just as a land that sometimes is going to be a dinosaur, but yeah, pretty solid. Okay, we started out actually close to mono green in the first pack and ended up picking up a lot of red. I think the deck looks really stellar. I'm not sure you could really ask for a much better one. You could maybe ask for some bigger bombs, but as far as just like good, powerful cards go, we gotta be pretty happy with this. Okay, so a couple of cards that are questionable. I do think I want Dinosaur Stampede. Stomp's great. It's probably gonna cost 1 most of the time. Fire Cannon Blast, just solid removal. All of these guys I think are gonna pull their weight. Jade Guardian I don't love. Maybe I should cut that. One of the few 4-drops we have, but maybe we can just play 2 2-drops a lot of the time. What are we not playing? Not playing New Horizons, I don't think. I don't think we want River Herald's Boon. Maybe we just play the Diviner, though. 1/4 is not the most aggressive card. I think it's probably better than Jade Guardian. Explorer is, like, not irrelevant. Well, maybe we'd rather just play, like, another sort of aggressive card like Dual Shot. It can be pretty good once in a while. Do we want Hijack? I think we do. It's another that helps us finish the game. When we've already beaten my opponent quite a bit, I think Hijack will be good in this deck. And maybe we'll just keep this. I wonder if we want Swashbuckling. Probably bring that in some matchups. I don't like playing it blind, but it definitely gets your opponent dead in a hurry sometimes. Do you want to play Hunters? Maybe Hunters is bad. 6 cost is expensive. Alright, maybe let's play one more Swashbuckling. Maybe we'll try it and sideboard it out if it seems bad in the matchup. It is a very aggressive card, and we are a very aggressive deck. Okay, I think it's pretty sweet. I'm, like I said, happy, which might end up meaning that I've got something to learn about the format. Maybe this won't be as good as it looks, but it feels pretty strong. I'm happy. See you guys for match 1.